Welcome to Better Than Ever Live, wherever you're watching or wherever you're listening. I hope you're making today your masterpiece. Sorry, right as I was about to come on, I had a sip of water and I about choked on it, so I apologize. My name's Dr. David Geier. Hopefully, if you've watched this before, you know that. I am a double board certified orthopedic surgeon, sports medicine specialist, and media medical expert. I help you feel and perform your best regardless of age, injuries, or medical conditions. Very, very excited to have you here. I hope, and I didn't put much notice about it out, but last night was the first night of a new show that I started at night, 7 p.m. Eastern time, pretty much every weeknight. We'll see how that goes, but it's not like this. It's a show about injuries in pro and college sports for people who just love sports and certain teams, people who bet on sports, people who play fantasy sports. Last night was sort of an intro show. Tonight, I think I'm talking about Klay Thompson, Jimmy Butler, Baker Mayfield, and Michael Gallup, I think, unless there's a big story that comes out again, later today. But check it out. If you love sports, if you love hearing what an injury might mean in terms of how long they'd be out, or is it going to affect their performance, or is it going to have a long-term effect on their career, that kind of thing. Should be a lot of fun. So join us 7 p.m. Eastern time, mostly YouTube, but if you want to check it out on Facebook, at least for now, I'm doing that on Facebook as well. We have a lot of good stuff to get to today. It's mostly a nutrition show today. I am going to try, it won't be perfect, but I will try to sort of focus more on one bigger topic and then a different topic the next time. That may not always work out, but today is a little bit more nutrition oriented. As always, I am not giving you medical advice. None of the 8 or 9 studies I'm talking about today am I telling you what you should do medically. I have not seen you. I have not examined you. I've not looked at x-rays, MRIs. I'm not giving you medical advice because I'm not your doctor. I'd love to be your doctor. You can come see me in Charleston, South Carolina, or Charlotte, North Carolina when the weather gets better in a lot of the country. You're welcome to do that. You can go to my website. There's a contact form and you can reach out to me that way. Having said that, I am just giving you information for educational purposes so you can talk to your doctor and make decisions that are best for you. All right, first thing we're going to talk about is something that I've said it before briefly on the show, but I haven't talked about it a lot. But one of the foods that I would like to start adding more of to my diet, and I've been saying this really since I even experimented with the keto diet and the bulletproof diets back in the day, are avocados. I remember hearing that Dave Asprey of the Bulletproof Company and Bulletproof Diet and Bulletproof Coffee and all that talks about how a lot of times he'll use avocados and make almost like a guacamole and take carrot sticks and just dip it, and that's a meal for him. Just basically this high fat meal. But avocados are healthy fats. They're high in oleic acid, which is a monounsaturated fat. They're high in fiber, high in potassium, high in vitamin C, vitamins E, vitamins B vitamins, so very, very good for you. But I want to talk about two studies today that may make you want to eat more of them. One comes in the journal Nutrients. This was a study of Mexican families. They had 72 families, which totaled 231 people, and had them eat 14 avocados a week or 2 a day for 6 months. And what they found is that the people that did that ended up eating fewer calories throughout the day, and they tended to eat healthier foods. So the big reason was that the avocados made them feel full, so that they ended up eating less overall calories. But also, it led them to switch certain foods. They ate less processed meat, they ate less chicken, and less eggs. So in theory, what you're doing by adding more avocados, potentially you replace processed meats, red meats, and maybe unhealthy meats that may have more saturated fat. Replacing it with a monounsaturated fat could potentially be very good for you. Now, that dovetails into the second study, the British Journal of Nutrition. These were Australian researchers, looked across the population in Australia and all sorts of different foods that they ate, and they looked at various body metrics, things like body weight, things like waist circumference. And what they found is that avocados are good for your waistline as well. Basically, what they found is the people who ate the most avocados had the lowest body weight, smallest waist circumference. And again, like the Mexican study where people just didn't eat it changed their calories and changed the ratios of what they ate. What the Australian team found is that people ate less junk food when they ate more avocados. So in terms of a snack, if you're going to replace a candy bar with avocados or something, no, it's not quite the same thing, but might be potentially good for you. And again, because you're replacing potentially saturated fats with monounsaturated fats, potentially might be good for your cholesterol. I've said this before, anybody out there that, hey Robert, good to see you. Robert was on our That's Gotta Hurt live show last night. If you have good avocado recipes, I would love to hear them because I do want to start adding that as not something I eat all the time, maybe not 2 a day like them, but I want to start trying that out a little bit. Now, I told you you could replace your chocolate and your candy bars with avocados, but let's think a little bit about chocolate for this next study. Now, I have a lot of friends. I'm not a huge chocolate person. It's fine. I like it. In fact, I love chocolate pie. I always say that if I'm on death row and I get sort of the one last meal, it's going to be Southern comfort foods. It's going to be fried chicken, mac and cheese, mashed potatoes and gravy, and probably an entire chocolate pie with the cream on top. Yeah, I just love it. Like the pudding filling. But I'm not a huge chocolate guy. Never been a huge candy bar person. I have friends that will eat Hershey's Kisses for desserts after dinner. And just any chance they get, they order the chocolate dessert at a restaurant. And that's fine. It's never really been my thing. But There's a new study, where was this? The Journal of Nutritional Biochemistry, that shows that a certain type of chocolate may actually put you in a better mood. Now, for my friends that love chocolate, any chocolate will put them in a good mood. But this was a study of adults in their 20s looking at not just mood, but specifically the positive and negative affect scale, basically tracking your emotional changes throughout the course of a week. And they compared two groups. One group of people that ate dark chocolate, but it had 70% cocoa, and one that had dark chocolate with 85% cocoa. And they found two things. The 85% cocoa eaters, and by the way, they had to eat this every day for 3 weeks. I bet my friends would absolutely, at least the ones that love chocolate, would absolutely sign up for a study where, hey, we'll put you in this study, but I hate to tell you, you're going to have to eat chocolate every day for 3 weeks. It's a hard life. Way better than the studies that when I was in college and med school that you could sign up for, where they would give you a cold and make you stay in a hotel for 3 weeks and give you the flu and stuff. I never got to eat chocolate. So I didn't sign up for any of them. But anyway, the group that ate 85% chocolate or 85% cocoa, dark chocolate, had better moods, and specifically what they had is lower negative affects. Negative affects like bad moods and just feeling down. It countered that. So overall, it made their moods more stable and higher. But the other thing it did, interestingly, is that it improved their gut microbiomes. And we've talked about that a lot in terms of weight loss. We've talked about that in terms of inflammation. Maybe that's related to mood as well. A lot of the hormones and all that circulate throughout your body depend at least on, at some level, on a healthy gut. But if you're going to eat chocolate, my recommendation would be try to get the highest level of cacao or cocoa that you can. I was just at Trader Joe's early this morning, right when it opened. That's when I tend to go because that's the only time they have organic fruits and vegetables, at least when I go, and the parking lot's not busting at the seams. But I noticed right at the checkout line they had all these different dark chocolates, and yeah, some were I think the lowest was 55, but they went up to 100%, which was really crazy. So those options are out there. You may have to look for it. We're not talking about the candy bars at the average supermarket, but healthy dark chocolate could potentially be a really good thing. Joseph, good to see you. Glad to have you here. And then the last thing that we're going to talk about, things you should eat, is a study looking at salmon, and specifically all types of foods that increase omega-3 fatty acids. Salmon would be one, but avocados would be one. Olive oil, which I've started putting in tons, way too much probably, all over my food. But there's a study in the Journal of Clinical Investigation that shows that omega-3 fatty acids, like what you get from fatty fishes like salmon, decrease inflammation within our arteries and lessen the chance of what's called atherosclerosis, or plaque buildup within your arteries, which is very, very dangerous from a medical standpoint. And so that's good to know. It's good for vascular disease. You should know that. But why I'm interested in this is this gets at something I've sort of hinted at off and on throughout this show over the course of 3, 4, 5 months, however long I've been doing this, is the role of inflammation and how we can fight inflammation. Inflammation's involved in cardiovascular disease, it's involved in dementia, it's involved in mood issues and mood disorders, autoimmune conditions like rheumatoid arthritis, even conditions like osteoarthritis. And so potentially omega-3 fatty acids would be something that could counteract that chronic low-grade inflammation that leads to all these medical conditions. And in my world, leads to the breakdown of cartilage and bone that turns into osteoarthritis, and then in a lot of people ends up in a knee replacement. So one of the things I'm going to start adding with my patients with osteoarthritis is at least getting at a level of what your diet's like. And there's ways to test for inflammation. The most common is high sensitivity C-reactive protein that gives you a pretty good indication of that. But look at their diets, and are they eating things, foods with a lot of omega-3 fatty acids and not omega-6 fatty acids. Those are what you find in processed foods. These are the canola oils and the vegetable oils and the soybean oils, safflower oils that are high in omega-6 fatty acids, which are very pro-inflammatory or cause a lot of inflammation. You want omega-3 fatty acids. So whether it's eating twice a week at least of salmon and other fatty fish, avocados, olive oil, flaxseed is thought to be good for omega-3 fatty acids, or you consider a supplement, that's something to consider. Now, the supplements are a little tricky because there is some concern about certain levels of supplementation maybe causing heart arrhythmias. And then I know in the functional medicine world and a lot of health experts are not big on omega-3 fatty acids sold online and in a lot of places because they're rancid and really at that point have gone bad and actually are worse than what you get. So make sure if you're going to do vitamin or omega-3 fatty acid supplementation, maybe get it from a quality supplement provider, a quality lab, like what one we use in our office. But that just for what that's worth. But consider getting more omega-3 fatty acids. Mediterranean diet is great for getting those, again, fatty fish, olive oil, that kind of thing. And then I sort of teased it inadvertently, vitamin D is the last one I want to talk about as far as nutrients go. But this time I'm going to reverse it and talk about vitamin D deficiency. There's a new study published in the European Heart Journal, study out of University of South Australia that shows that people with vitamin D deficiency and specifically severe deficiency, they have a higher risk of cardiovascular disease. Again, there's lots of issues that lead to cardiovascular disease, but we're starting to find more and more roles of vitamin D. It's thought to be involved in sleep. It's thought to be involved in serotonin, which is sort of the feel-good hormone. So, adequate vitamin D can certainly boost your mood. It's involved, deficiency at least, in certain cancers, certain bone issues, mental health conditions, autoimmune conditions. And here's the problem. The majority of the population is deficient in vitamin D. Largely, we don't go outside as much as we used to, or we wear sunscreen, and we don't get that much of vitamin D in our diet. Yes, it's in dairy, some orange juices, some cereals, egg yolks, fatty fish, but a lot of those are foods that people don't eat that much of. So that's something always to kind of keep an eye on for all kinds of medical reasons, not just cardiovascular disease, but keeping an eye on that from the sense of cardiovascular disease, but all the other issues, mental health, bone quality, and all sorts of other conditions. All right. All of this talk about nutrition suggests that, hey, if we eat well, we're going to live a healthy life. Well, clearly, I would argue we're not doing something right. A new study in the Journal of the American Medical Association, researchers at Johns Hopkins have found that more than half of adults between the age of 18 and 25, young adults, more than half in this country are now overweight. And that what they did is they looked at the rates of obesity, BMI, body mass index over 30. They compared it from a period 1976 to 1980 to 2017, 2018. And just get these numbers. In 1976 to 1980, only 6% of young adults 18 to 25 were obese. Compare that to 2017, 2018. About 1/3 of adults had the BMI of 30 or higher and were obese. Now let's flip that. What percentage of young adults actually have a normal body weight? Back in the 1970s, late 1970s, it was 68%. Over 2/3 of young adults had a normal body weight. That has dropped to 38% now. Just stunning. And that's before the pandemic, folks, 2017, 2018. It's going to be worse now. We've seen all kinds of studies, and I know scientific studies are coming under a lot of fire in this pandemic and COVID world. But having said that, I bet the weight gain studies, obesity increases, kids, young adults, everybody during the pandemic, it looks like has gained more weight as a overall population. I suspect these numbers are even worse. So we need to get rid of that and do what we can, because the problem is when you get obese as a kid or as a young adult, you're much more likely to progress to metabolic disorders down the road, cardiovascular disease, type 2 diabetes, things that can shorten your life and really, really affect your health. So if you get to that point and you're in your 60s or 70s and now you're overweight, how can you lose weight and potentially keep it off? Well, the obvious answer, right? Exercise. Well, yeah, but that can be hard to sort of start an exercise program and stick with it. later in life, really at any age. So this is a really fascinating study that was published last week in the journal Obesity. And what they did is they took all these sort of senior citizens, people with an average age roughly around 70, and they were all obese. They had, and severely obese, body mass index between 30 and 45, again, age 65 to 85. And what they did is they put them into two groups. All of them, both groups, were put on a weight loss diet, and that was just part of the deal. But one group was told, all right, you've got to exercise. And that group had to walk, brisk walking, not just sort of strolling, brisk walking for 3 hours a day for 4 to 5 days a week. And I cannot imagine walking fast for 3 hours. I'd be bored out of my mind. And I don't have time to do that. But that's a lot of work. Good for them. The other group was put in a program called Sit Less, where they had to meet, all they had to do was meet daily step counts, and they were encouraged and reminded to move at various points throughout the day, so they were kind of constantly moving, but they didn't exercise. All right, so which group do you expect lost the most weight? Well, the exercise group did, but just barely. After 6 months, they lost 18 pounds. The group in the Sit Less, that no exercise, just moving throughout the day, lost 16 pounds. So 18 pounds and 16 pounds, not a huge difference. Here's where it's interesting though. A year after that, they surveyed all these people again to see how they were doing. The weight loss group had regained 10 of those 18 pounds, whereas the Sit Less group had only regained 6 pounds. Well, why? Well, it looked like the ones in the Sit Less group just moving throughout the day stuck with it. They kept doing it. Even if they weren't doing it formally, they just got used to being active throughout the day, and they kept more of the weight off. And that's a message. I'd love to see this study done at the people's in their 20s and their 30s and their 40s, because I suspect, I can't prove this, you can never know until you actually study it, but I suspect that would be applicable to all of us. That one of the things that's going to be really important is just get up and moving. Whether that's, when you're taking phone calls for work, you're walking around, whether you have meetings and they're walking meetings instead of sitting at a table for 3 hours, whatever it is, taking the stairs, parking at the back of the parking lot and walking a longer way into work, parking at the back of a shopping center when you go to the grocery store or to the gym. Which that always kills me, why people circle a parking lot at the gym to park as close as possible when you're about to exercise. Why in the world do you need to walk 100 yards less when you're about to work out for 30 or 45 or 60 minutes? It makes absolutely no sense to me. But find ways, just a rant, find ways to get more exercise throughout the day. And last that I've got for you is a study, or not a study, but it's an article I thought was really good. So I'm not a huge fan of mainstream media, which is funny coming from a guy that's the medical expert for 2 TV stations. But I'm not a fan, and this article comes from the New York Times, not a fan of the New York Times. And it's not just the left wing, New York Times, Washington Post, CNN, MSNBC, same with Fox News. Everything's become opinion, not fact, and you don't know what to believe anymore. And the New York Times has fallen into that with me. But their well section, which is health and wellness, exercise, nutrition, that kind of thing, I've always liked. Gretchen Reynolds and Tara Parker Pope and a number of others that write for them are really good. And at the end of the year, this was published in December 2021, they listed their favorite health habits for 2021. Well, 2021's over, but if you're looking to start healthy habits for 2022, you might adopt some of these. I love these, and I just want to go over these real quick. Maybe you don't do them all. Maybe you just pick one, but I think these could be really good. Again, I'll credit, this is from the New York Times, from the Well blog that they run. All right, first, and these aren't all necessarily fitness related, but they're involved in your health in some way, shape, or form. First is a perfect example of this, maybe for more mental health, and that's to give the best hours of your day to yourself. You've probably figured out, just know this, if you are best in the morning or if you're best late at night. I am 100% a morning person. I get better work done from 6 a.m. to 9 a.m. than any other time of the day. It's not even close for me. So that would be time I want to give to myself. If you're a night owl, maybe you do that as well. But what does that mean to give it to yourself? Well, if at all possible, you try, and it may not even be work related, even though in my case it's work. So I would maybe do real productive work, maybe not check email or just do busy work for other people. For some people, that's, all right, I'm going to find time for myself where I'm not taking care of the kids or I'm not dealing with other people's problems. Maybe you focus on work and big projects. Maybe you focus on, hey, that's when I'm going to go exercise, but you try to focus on your priorities and not the priorities of somebody else at the time, your sort of peak time for you. All right, another one that you're going to hear more about, and I may talk about this next week because there's a study that I just read about this, but it's this concept, I don't know if you've heard of it, it's called exercise snacks. Not snacks like eating, like avocados or dark chocolate. No, exercise snacks. The study I'm going to talk about, I think next week, is a study where very quietly the physical activity guidelines for how much exercise you're supposed to get no longer have a minimum length of time. Obviously there's an amount you want for the course of a week, but there's ways to be active that don't involve 30 minutes of running or 60 minutes of working out. And the idea behind an exercise snack is when you got just 60 seconds or 90 seconds, a break of some kind during your day, you use it physically. 20 seconds of going up the stairs really quickly. 60 seconds of wall squats or 30 seconds of air squats in your office. It could be, any number of things. Wall push-ups. The writer here, 10 wall push-ups is his exercise snack throughout the day. It could be 30 seconds of jumping jacks or lunges or just anything real quickly to get fitness time, just short periods of activity. Again, gets back to that whole sit less activity. You're trying to move throughout the day. And the study I talk about next week talks about how helpful these can be. But you do that not just once, you just do it throughout the day. And I would argue you vary it up. I have an office not where I see patients, but another office where I do some other work that I do. And I always try to take the stairs. I try to always avoid the elevator if I can help it. Park on the 4th floor and have to walk down 4 flights of stairs in the garage and walk 4 flights of stairs back up. All of that kind of thing. I've actually got a yoga mat in there. I don't do as much because it's not that big, but I try to do a little bit. I tried to get a kettlebell, but Amazon wouldn't deliver a kettlebell to that office for some reason. So I'm going to have to go buy one. But exercise snacks, keep that in mind for 2022. If you have a free 60 seconds or 90 seconds, do something physically active. Your health will thank you for it. Another one related to the mental health is something about gratitude. Now, gratitude is really important to me because, and I haven't talked about it here, I talk about it when I do keynote speaking. I have a speech on burnout. I went through a period of burnout at my job 2012, beginning of 2013, and it was brutal. I mean, it affected my sleep, it affected my eating, it affected my energy, it affected my relationships. And one of the things I did to break out of that, and I recommend it for a lot of people, is to practice gratitude. Now that can be a gratitude journal where you write, 3 things that you're grateful for that particular day. It could be your intention for the day at the end of the, before you go to bed at night. It could be 3 positive things that happen to me throughout the day. And those 3 things are in my gratitude journal every day. So that I'm a big fan of that. But there's lots of ways to do get gratitude. But the New York Times suggested something that I really like, and that's to take a gratitude photo. Take one photo, just pull out your phone, take one photo of something you're grateful for, something that's special in your life every day. But not just take the photo, actually look at it and think of why that makes you happy, why that person or that thing, maybe your pet, whatever it is, makes you happy, why you're grateful to have him or her or it in your life can be very important. Now, they suggested posting it on social media. I'm not so big on that unless you're posting it for your own benefit, not just to get a bunch of likes, which I think is all of social media. And I say that knowing that I'm doing a live stream on social media right now. I am not a social media person for any personal reason. I just like it for professional reasons. But what they're getting at with this gratitude photo is savoring. And savoring is thought to be so good for your overall wellness and happiness and just overall well-being. Savoring the things that are important to you and special to you in your life are very important to your mental health. And so taking a photo of them and savoring them can be really good. Last four things. This one I don't have that much of a feel for. That's to talk about your feelings. And not so much talk about it, but think about it. What they suggest is every time you start to brush your teeth or when you're sitting down to have a cup of coffee, or maybe you're making your coffee, you want to ask yourself how you're doing. The key is to avoid words like okay, or good, or fine. You're supposed to assign a very specific feeling to how you're feeling. Anxious, unsettled, overjoyed, nervous, whatever it is. And here's the reason behind that. And this part actually makes a lot of sense to me. I've just never heard this exercise. Even if you're having a really tough time, you're really anxious, you're scared, you're whatever it is, labeling it, putting it out there as this is what I'm feeling, knocks down the intensity of that. One of the problems we have with our mental health, and really it affects our overall health, is chronically high stress levels. Cortisol is released in response to fear or some really dangerous situation, and that's fine short term. It makes you act, it gets your heart rate up, everything like that. The problem with stress is that if it's chronically elevated, that's really not good for you. And we've got this overstimulated society that our cortisol levels, our stress levels, norepinephrine, epinephrine, are chronically high. And so by just labeling your negative emotions, you become okay with it and drop those stress levels, which is good for your mental health. Try that out. I haven't tried it, but it makes sense. All right. As you're fighting your New Year's resolution, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on. One of the big mistakes people make is they shoot for the moon. I'm going to run a marathon this year. I'm going to lose 50 pounds. And I will bet you a whole lot you're not going to do that because that's way too big of a goal. The key with any kind of healthy habit are easy habits. I didn't make a New Year's resolution per se this year. My goal was to add, and I think it's like 10 or 12 habits that are healthy, mental health, physical health, somewhat work related. But every day my goal is just do it to a little bit. I don't need to do it for an hour. I don't need, just if I can just do it a little bit, that is success for me. Because the key with habits is to make them small enough that it's easy to do until it becomes quote unquote a habit. It becomes just second nature. You just do it automatically. And so whatever you do with your healthy habits in 2022, do everything you can to remove the friction, make them very easy to do. All right, last two, and actually I'm going to do the one that they have second to last. I'm going to do that now. Find a health buddy, or what I call an accountability partner. Could be your husband, could be your wife, could be your boyfriend, could be your girlfriend, it could be your best friend, it could be somebody somewhere else on social media, but somebody that you can talk to every day and encourage each other, to check in with each other, somebody that holds you accountable if you slack off and eat all the candy bars or an entire bag of Hershey Kisses or chocolate pies in my case, or you don't go work out, but then you're there for them. You're supporting them and they're supporting you. Much, much more likely to stick to healthy goals. Jim Rohn used to say you're the average of the 5 people you spend the most time with. Try to make at least one of those people a healthy person at the same level as you, working to achieve better health. And then the last one I just think is funny, but I'm going to give it to you anyway when we are talking mental health. So I have an Apple TV. I'm a huge Apple guy. Apple laptop in front of me, Apple iPad. I don't know if you can see it where I'm reading my studies, Apple laptop over there, Apple Watch, Beats headphones to work out, big iPhone wherever my phone is, big Apple fan. So I have an Apple TV and I have them in certain rooms of the house, and Apple has these screensavers. A lot of times they are cities, Dubai and various places, or screen or shots from a satellite looking over the earth. All those are great. But occasionally they show fish and underwater scenes. And my favorite, and it's funny that this comes up, is when they show jellies or jellyfish. And so this New York Times writer talks about Cord Jefferson, a television writer who won an Emmy, and in his Emmy speech actually thanked his therapist on national TV. I didn't see it, but that's fantastic. And here's apparently what his therapist suggested, is to watch, apparently there's a live feed from the Monterey Bay Aquarium of the jellies or the jellyfish at that aquarium. And what this writer does is he makes it his screensaver, or not his screensaver, but his computer browser, and he'll take time where he just stares at it as a mindfulness break or meditation break throughout the day. I love that idea because I've always liked the jellyfish, but I never really thought why. I don't know what it is about it. I don't know if it's the movement, if it's the colors. Apparently, blue colors are very soothing for men. I remember seeing a study on that. It's apparently why men like to have the Weather Channel on in the background a lot of times. It's the blues in the background of that TV station. But maybe it's something about that in the water or the way they move around and they're, kind of going like that. I don't know. But there is something about jellies or jellyfish. Try any of those. Jellyfish browser or webcam, health accountability partner, easy habits, gratitude photo, great idea. Talking about or thinking about specifically what specific feeling you're having. Exercise snacks, very, very big on that. And giving yourself the best hours of your day. Speaking of hours, we are going to, I'll be right back here 7:00 p.m. Eastern time talking about pro and college athletes who are injured or are recovering from injury. We're going to talk about that later tonight. So join us tonight and every night this week, hopefully, for That's Gotta Hurt Live right here where you're watching now. I also will be, Cece, very soothing to watch jellyfish. Love it. And Joseph, I see you've got a question. I have got to run back to the office. I've got a packed clinic schedule this afternoon, but tell you what, I will be here Thursday, and I'm hoping to be here Friday for Ask Dr. Geier Live at noon Eastern, that's all I do on Fridays is answer questions. So normally I try to do it a little bit here, but I got to run today. I apologize for that, but I do try to do that at least a little bit. But Fridays, that's all I do. So if you can join me then, join me wherever you're watching this. If you want to comment, if you want more of this and you want to watch live, YouTube, Facebook, and LinkedIn, or where this show runs live. If you can't watch live, get the podcast version, Spotify, Apple, Google, Stitcher, anywhere you get your podcast now. It's on Better Than Ever Live is available by podcast form, and we fixed the feed. It's all up and running, so you should be able to watch it at the gym or listen to it at the gym, listen to it driving to work, home from work, all that kind of good stuff. Very, very happy to be here. Yes, make it a good day. I don't know. Did I say it early? Make today your masterpiece. That's how I usually open the show. CC, really love that. Having said that, I do need to make it a good day, and I got to make it a good day for other people. I've got to go see a bunch of patients. Thank you so much for joining me. I will see you right back here on Thursday, noon Eastern. But remember, That's Gotta Hurt Live tonight, 7 p.m. Eastern.